There is a quiet moment many people experience after 50, standing up from a chair, feeling the pull in the hips, the hesitation in the knees, and wondering when such a simple act became a negotiation with the body. This is where the story truly begins, not with decline, but with adaptation. The human body does not fail suddenly, it whispers first. And one of its clearest whispers is this: strength must evolve. For decades, squats were treated as a universal symbol of lower body fitness. Yet biology is never universal, it is contextual, age-aware, and deeply responsive to how tissues change over time. After 50, the gluteal muscles become less about raw power and more about protection, balance, and efficient movement. When trained with intention, they can take pressure away from aging joints and restore confidence to motion. Science shows us that certain glute-focused movements respect the spine, calm the knees, and still awaken the powerful engine at the back of the body, often more effectively than squats ever could. The first idea rests on a truth that often goes unnoticed. Muscle weakness after 50 is rarely just a problem of strength, but a problem of communication. The gluteal muscles are among the most powerful in the human body, yet they are also among the easiest to disconnect from the brain. Years of sitting, reduced variety of movement, and protective habits formed around minor aches slowly quiet the neural signals that tell these muscles when to fire. The result is not dramatic failure, but subtle substitution. The body begins to borrow movement from the lower back, the knees, even the calves, asking smaller or more vulnerable structures to do the work that the glutes were designed to handle. From a scientific perspective, this is a neurological adaptation, not a moral flaw or a lack of effort. As we age, motor unit recruitment becomes less efficient. Fewer muscle fibers are activated automatically, and the timing of that activation matters more than the amount of weight lifted. Squats, especially when performed with speed or depth that exceeds current joint tolerance, often reinforce existing compensations. The body chooses the path of least resistance, and if the glutes are slow to respond, other muscles step in. Glute-focused exercises that emphasize slow, deliberate hip extension create something different. They restore awareness. They ask the nervous system to locate the muscle again, to feel it contract, to hold tension briefly, and to release with control. This process strengthens synaptic pathways between brain and muscle, making future movement more coordinated and less stressful on surrounding joints. Scientific studies on aging and neuromuscular control show that intentional, low-load activation can outperform heavier, more complex movements when the goal is functional strength. When the glutes are trained in positions that reduce spinal compression and knee strain, the brain learns that these muscles are safe to use again. Over time, this reduces the protective inhibition that often develops after minor injuries or chronic discomfort. The muscle does not simply grow stronger, it becomes more reliable. It turns on when standing up, walking uphill, or regaining balance, without conscious effort. There is also a psychological layer to this reconnection. Many people over 50 associate lower body training with pain or fear of injury. Exercises that prioritize control over load rebuild trust between mind and body. Each controlled repetition becomes a quiet confirmation that movement is still possible, still supportive, still intelligent. This trust encourages consistency, and consistency is one of the most powerful variables in long-term health. From a biological standpoint, reactivating the glutes improves circulation to the hips and pelvis, supports spinal alignment, and reduces unnecessary muscular tension elsewhere. The body becomes more economical, using energy where it was designed to be used. Strength, in this context, is not about dominance over the body, but cooperation with it, a gradual reawakening of systems that never disappeared, only waited to be invited back into the conversation. The second idea emerges from a simple but profound observation. The body does not experience exercise as a list of muscles, but as forces moving through joints. After 50, the way those forces are distributed matters more than ever. Cartilage becomes thinner, connective tissue loses some elasticity, and the tolerance for compressive load decreases, especially in the knees and lower spine. Squats, while effective in younger bodies, concentrate force through these vulnerable areas, particularly when depth, speed, or fatigue compromise alignment. This is not a failure of the exercise itself, but a mismatch between the demands of the movement and the changing architecture of the body. From a biomechanical perspective, the hips are designed to be the primary engines of lower body movement. The gluteal muscles sit close to the body's center of mass, with long muscle fibers capable of absorbing and generating force efficiently. When movement is driven from the hips rather than the knees, load is redirected backward, into tissues built for endurance and power. Glute-dominant exercises such as hip hinges, bridges, and controlled step backs shift the stress away from the front of the knee and reduce shear forces within the joint. This redistribution allows strength to be built without repeatedly compressing cartilage that may already be under strain. Aging joints also respond differently to repetition. High compressive forces, especially under fatigue, can trigger inflammation that lingers longer than it once did. Inflammation itself is not harmful, but chronic low-grade inflammation interferes with recovery and increases pain sensitivity. By choosing movements that emphasize hip extension and posterior chain engagement, the body experiences less joint irritation while still receiving a meaningful mechanical stimulus. This balance is crucial for maintaining momentum in training rather than entering cycles of progress and setback. There is also a stabilizing effect that comes from proper force distribution. When the glutes do their share of the work, the muscles around the knee no longer have to brace constantly for protection. This reduces unnecessary muscular tension and improves joint tracking during daily activities like walking downstairs or rising from the floor. Over time, movement becomes smoother, quieter, almost lighter, not because the body is weaker, but because it is no longer fighting itself. Science increasingly supports the idea that joint health is preserved not by avoiding load, but by applying it intelligently. Glute-focused exercises allow load to be scaled precisely, adjusted to comfort, and progressed gradually. This respects the biological reality that tissues adapt at different rates. Muscles strengthen faster than cartilage, and when training ignores this, joints pay the price. By honoring hip-driven mechanics, strength becomes sustainable rather than impressive. On a deeper level, this approach reflects a shift in mindset. Exercise after 50 is less about proving capability and more about preserving capacity. When force flows through the body in harmony with its design, movement feels cooperative instead of confrontational. The knees are no longer asked to absorb what the hips can manage, and the spine is freed from unnecessary compression. In this redistribution of effort, the body finds a quieter strength. One that supports longevity and dignity in motion. The third idea lives in the subtle science of balance, a quality often mistaken for something passive, when in reality it is an active conversation between the brain, muscles, and sensory systems. After 50, balance does not disappear suddenly, it becomes delayed. The signals still travel, but they arrive a fraction of a second later. That small delay is enough to turn an uneven step, a slippery surface, or a missed stair into a fall. From a physiological standpoint, this delay is less about weakness and more about coordination and response speed, especially in the muscles surrounding the hips. The gluteal muscles play a central role in keeping the body upright. They stabilize the pelvis with every step, preventing excessive sway and protecting the spine from rotational stress. When these muscles are slow to activate, the body compensates by stiffening the knees or tightening the lower back, strategies that reduce adaptability and increase injury risk. Traditional squats, performed with both feet planted symmetrically, offer limited challenge to this stabilizing system. They train strength in a predictable environment, but life rarely moves in straight, symmetrical lines. Glute-focused exercises that involve single-leg support or controlled instability introduce the nervous system to uncertainty in a safe and manageable way. Standing on one leg, bridging while resisting rotation, or stepping deliberately through space teaches the hips to make rapid, precise adjustments. These movements stimulate proprioceptors, the sensory receptors that inform the brain about joint position and movement. With consistent practice, the brain learns to interpret these signals more efficiently, reducing reaction time when balance is threatened. Research on aging and fall prevention consistently highlights the importance of lateral hip strength and neuromuscular control. The gluteus medius, often overlooked, acts like a quiet guardian of balance, preventing the pelvis from dropping during walking and standing. When this muscle is weak or poorly coordinated, each step becomes slightly unstable, even if the person feels generally strong. Targeted glute exercises restore this protective function, creating a sense of groundedness that extends beyond the workout itself. There is also an emotional dimension to balance training. Fear of falling can subtly alter movement patterns, causing people to move cautiously, stiffly, and with reduced confidence. Ironically, This stiffness makes balance worse. Exercises that challenge stability without overwhelming the body rebuild confidence through experience. Each successful repetition sends a message to the nervous system that balance is manageable, that recovery is possible, that the body can respond effectively to change. Over time, these adaptations show up in ordinary moments. Turning quickly, stepping off a curb, or reaching for an object no longer require conscious planning. The hips respond automatically, correcting posture before the mind registers a threat. This is the quiet power of glute-based stability training. It does not announce itself with visible muscle or dramatic effort, but it weaves resilience into movement itself. In this way, balance becomes less about standing still and more about moving with intelligence. By training the glutes to stabilize, adapt, and respond, the body regains a sense of trust in motion. Strength is no longer confined to controlled environments, it travels into daily life, where it matters most. The fourth idea centers on recovery, a concept that changes meaning with age. In younger bodies, recovery is often measured in hours or days. After 50, it becomes a dialogue between effort and inflammation, between stimulation and repair. Muscles still respond to challenge, but the margin for excess narrows. When exercise creates more systemic stress than the body can resolve, fatigue lingers, joints ache, and motivation quietly erodes. This is where precision begins to matter more than intensity, and glute-focused training offers a biological advantage. From a physiological standpoint, targeted glute exercises generate a high local stimulus with relatively low global cost. The gluteal muscles are large and metabolically active, capable of adapting without demanding extreme cardiovascular output or excessive joint loading. When trained with controlled tempo and moderate resistance, they stimulate muscle protein synthesis while minimizing the hormonal stress response that often accompanies heavy compound lifts. This matters because aging bodies are more sensitive to prolonged elevations in cortisol, which can interfere with sleep, immune function, and tissue repair. Inflammation is another critical factor. Exercise-induced inflammation is a normal part of adaptation, but after 50 it tends to resolve more slowly. Movements that place high compressive or shear forces on joints can amplify inflammatory signals, leading to soreness that feels less like productive fatigue and more like warning. Glute-dominant exercises, especially those performed in supported positions, reduce unnecessary joint irritation while still challenging the muscle fibers. This allows the inflammatory response to remain localized and proportional, supporting adaptation rather than overwhelming recovery systems. There is also a connective tissue component to consider. Tendons and ligaments adapt more slowly than muscles, and aggressive loading can outpace their ability to strengthen. Controlled glute exercises apply tension gradually, improving tendon stiffness and resilience without sudden spikes in force. Over time, this enhances joint stability and reduces the risk of overuse injuries that can interrupt training for weeks or months. Consistency emerges naturally from this approach. When workouts leave the body feeling worked but not depleted, people are more likely to return to movement regularly. This consistency supports mitochondrial health, insulin sensitivity, and circulation, all of which play roles in long-term vitality. Recovery, in this sense, is not merely the absence of soreness, but the presence of readiness, the feeling that the body is prepared to move again. There is a deeper lesson embedded here. Aging teaches the body to value sustainability over spectacle. Exercises that respect recovery create space for progress that unfolds quietly, almost invisibly, but with lasting effect. The glutes, when trained with care, become a foundation that supports daily movement without demanding prolonged repair. Energy is preserved for living, not spent recovering from exercise itself. In honoring recovery, training becomes an act of alignment rather than resistance. The body is no longer pushed into adaptation through exhaustion, but guided into it through understanding. Strength grows in harmony with healing, and movement remains something to look forward to, not something to recover from. The fifth idea returns to meaning, because strength without purpose rarely endures. The gluteal muscles are often discussed in the language of fitness, yet their true value lies in how deeply they are woven into daily life. They are responsible for lifting the body out of a chair, carrying weight through space, stabilizing the spine during walking, and propelling each step forward. After 50, these ordinary actions become the real measure of health. Training that honors this reality shifts exercise from performance to preparation, from isolated effort to lived Capability. From an anatomical perspective, the glutes serve as a bridge between the upper and lower body. They transfer force efficiently, allowing the spine to remain supported while the legs generate movement. When they are undertrained or poorly coordinated, the body compensates by overusing smaller muscles and joints that were never meant to bear such responsibility. Over time, this compensation shows up as back stiffness, hip discomfort, or knee pain. Glute-focused exercises restore this natural hierarchy, returning work to the muscles best equipped to handle it. There is also a psychological transformation that occurs when training aligns with function. Many people over 50 feel disconnected from exercise because it no longer seems relevant to their lives. Movements that mimic real-world demands rebuild that relevance. Each repetition becomes a rehearsal for living, not a task performed in isolation. This reframing changes motivation. Exercise stops being something to endure and becomes something to invest in, a quiet form of self-respect expressed through movement. Science supports this functional approach. Studies on aging consistently show that strength gains translate into improved independence only when they reflect everyday movement patterns. Glute exercises that involve standing, stepping, hinging, and stabilizing prepare the nervous system for real situations. The body learns not just to contract muscle fibers, but to coordinate them in meaningful sequences. This coordination reduces energy waste and fatigue, allowing people to move longer and with greater ease. There is a subtle dignity in this kind of strength. It does not seek attention, yet it is felt in confidence and posture, in the absence of hesitation before movement. Walking becomes smoother, carrying objects feels safer, and fatigue arrives later in the day. These changes may seem small, but they accumulate into a profound shift in quality of life. On a biological level, purposeful movement supports longevity by encouraging continued engagement with the environment. Muscles that are used regularly signal the body to maintain bone density, joint lubrication, and metabolic health. The glutes, as central drivers of movement, play an outsized role in sending these signals. When they are trained thoughtfully, they help preserve the body's capacity to interact with the world rather than withdraw from it. In this way, glute-focused training becomes more than an alternative to squats. It becomes a philosophy of movement rooted in care, efficiency, and respect for the body's changing needs. Strength is no longer measured by how much is lifted, but by how fully life can be lived through the simple, essential acts of moving, standing, and continuing forward.